Hello everybody, I'm just getting this other camera started up here. Yes, I am. Well, let's see what we got. Hey, my name is Regina. I want to bring to you a little bit of the Bible. I want to try and have some joy to your day, add some joy to your day with this book of Esther. I gotta say, one of the reasons why I like studying the Bible is because, one, I learn new things, and everybody wants to learn something new, but also I learn about the lifestyle that we basically should have. And I think a lot of times when people are teaching the Bible, sometimes people can get kind of bored with it, and they get like, they don't want to learn it, they don't want to be a part of it, they just want to try their best to do what they think is good, and they end up not enjoying spending time with the Bible. It's like when somebody tells them, hey, let's study the Bible, they're like, okay, maybe. But if you really find a way that you could really bring this Bible in and have it to be a book that you like, hey, you say something like, can't wait to get home, I got to study the Bible, or when I'm at work, I want to get the Bible, I want to read something, I want to learn something fun and new. I think if we could do that, we would find a way that we would be able to enjoy this book. The book of Esther is one that I was reading again last night. My husband and I were traveling back in town. We went out of town because we love to find time to enjoy ourselves, so we do go out of town a lot. And babe, you down there? Poppy? Oh, you can come up when you get a chance. He's downstairs. You can come up when you get a chance. I'm going to be recording a little bit. The book of Esther.
I hear you.
I'm upstairs.
Okay.
Sorry. Sorry about that. But I really love studying the Bible and learning things in the Bible that can help us. This book of Esther, I gotta tell you, this book of Esther was so humorous to me, to a certain part, to a certain degree, I'll say, humorous to us. I'm gonna just move this camera over a little bit. But it was very humorous to me because when it starts out, it's talking about King Xerxes. Okay, if that's how you say his name. Sometimes I pronounce these words differently than some people say, but it's funny. This king, he was very funny to me, especially yes, I'm gonna put his name in here, and we're gonna do the pronunciation. That's another thing I like to do. Also, I like for people to, as we learn the Bible, I like for us to learn these words and meanings and stuff like that, to learn them together. Because sometimes, you're trying to explain to the Bible and you say the wrong word. People think it's hilarious. Not really hilarious, but let's just learn together. So
Xerxes.
Xerxes, okay.
Xerxes.
Xerxes, that's how it's how you pronounce that word. Xerxes, all right. So King Xerxes of Persia, we're talking about. So let's start in the book of Esther, and I hope you enjoy this. I had so much fun with, we don't want to know about him. I have so much fun about the Bible. But the book of Esther is really good because there's a really great lesson to learn in the book of Esther. There's a really great lesson. I don't want you to miss the great lesson as we go through this. But let's start on off. We're going to start in the book of Esther, chapter 1 and verse 1. All right, you ready? I'm so excited. All right, here we go. King Xerxes of Persia lived in his capital city of Susa and ruled 127 provinces from India to Ethiopia. So this king was no small king by any means. He had this huge place that he ruled, and territory that he ruled. So this is not just some small king by any means. This is a big guy. This is like one of the top kings probably, that during this time. He ruled a lot of territories. In verse 2 it says, during the 3rd year of his rule, King Xerxes gave a big dinner for all his officials and officers. The governors and leaders of the provinces were also invited, and even the commanders of the Persian and Median armies came. So this is really interesting, okay? So he gave this big dinner for all the officials and all the leaders, okay? He wanted to, I guess, show his gratitude to them and everything, for all the leaders and all the provinces, all the commanders and Persians and all that. So he wanted to give this big dinner, right? The big celebration. Get this. This is the part that I was laughing so hard, and I was like, how do you party that long? This party and dinner that he gave lasted, it says in verse 3, for 180 days. 180 days. I'm sorry, in verse 4, 180 days he showed off his wealth and spent a lot of money to impress his guests with the greatness of his kingdom. Come on, King Xerxes. Really? 180 days? 180 days? Wow. All right. So we're going to party for 6 months. Okay. So they party for 6 months. Now that's interesting to me, because you party for 6 months, you have to first have a lot of food and entertainment and everything to last 6 months. That was different. Okay. Let's go on. Verse 5. At the end of this time, King Xerxes gave another dinner. So at the end of the 6 months, the king gave another dinner. So the first dinner was for all the elite people, the leaders, the commanders and all of that stuff. Those people, the great people, he gave them a dinner and party for 6 months. And then at the end of the 6 months, it tells us in verse 5 of Esther chapter 1, at the end of the time, King Xerxes gave another dinner and invited in the city of Susa, and invited everyone in the city of Susa, no matter what they were. So this was for all the other people that didn't fit in the first category. He didn't leave y'all out. He wanted y'all to feel special too. All they may call, like, they're not the leaders, but the common folks, and those that maybe people felt like, well, they're not the higher ups, but they are the people they live in the provinces. So they wanted, to get some satisfaction and acknowledgement too. So the king didn't forget them. So don't feel as though he only gave a party for the higher ups and didn't give anything for the lower. He did. He thought of them also. So he also had a dinner for them at the end of the 180 days. So at the end of the 180 days, King Xerxes then decided he's going to give a party for the other people, all the other people. So it says again in verse 5 of Esther chapter 1, it says, at the end of this time, King Xerxes gave another dinner and invited everyone in the city of Susa, no matter what they were. The eating and drinking lasted 7 days in the beautiful palace gardens. Okay, so here it is. First party, 6 months. Second party lasted 7 days. Now, this was a party. I know some of y'all out there give parties and y'all feel like, oh, hey, come to my party. It's going to be from 10 to 2. Or 8 to midnight. Or from 8 until. But I don't think y'all untils last 7 days. But King Xerxes' party lasted 7 days for the common folk, we'll say. So let's go on. Verse 6. The area was decorated with blue and white cotton curtains tied back with purple linen cords that ran through silver rings fastened to marble columns. So these colors are indicating that this was a royal party, because those are the colors of royalty. When you study the Bible, you learn the colors of royalty. And these were the colors of royalty: blue, white, purple linens, silver rings, and stuff like that. Those are indicative of royalty. So this was saying that this was a party not only given by royalty, but he wanted the people that were attending to party to feel as though they were a form of that royalty, that they were being treated as royalty. So he made this a big thing, okay? He wanted them to feel good. It just wasn't just anything thrown together and they said, oh, come on, let's eat. No, he made sure that the curtains and the party and the beautiful room looked very, very nice. Okay, wanted them to feel like they were esteemed. Okay, so it says couches of gold and silver rested on pavements that had all kinds of designs made from costly, bright colored stones and marble and mother of pearl. So come on now, these were couches of gold and silver. These weren't just a regular couch. These were couches when you walked in, you were probably afraid to sit on them. You're probably like, oh, that is nice. This is what the king was throwing because he wanted the people to feel like they were treated like they were royalty. The king was going all out for them. All right, so let's go on down. Verse 7. The guests drank from gold cups, and each cup had a different design. The king was generous. So everybody had these gold cups. And I think it's fascinating. I didn't see this last night, but I'm seeing this today. It says that each cup had a different design. I think that's great because, you know, sometimes you go to these parties and some of y'all probably have these these red solo cups and blue solo cups and all that stuff. And you take a little marker and you write your name on it so everybody knows whose cup it is. Well, you didn't have to do that here with King Xerxes' party because King Xerxes had gold cups and each one of the cups had a design that was different from any other cup that was there. Now, get this in your thought because some of you might be thinking, oh, it's just maybe 10 or 12 little parts. No, this was lots of people. I mean, tons of people were there at this party. And for the king to have these gold cups made and all different designs on them, this was not a cheap little thing that he did. I mean, think thousands of people. And get this, 7 days now. It's not just, you know, sometimes y'all be at your friend's party or a little house party, a family party, and you don't forgot where your solo cup is, and now you got to get you a new solo cup and write your name on it. Well, King Xerxes did beyond that. Because if you lost your little gold goblet cup and you didn't know where your cup was, you set it down or maybe somebody picked it up, you didn't know where it was. Guess what? You probably got to get another gold cup with a whole different design on it. So this is royalty. This is beyond the imagination of probably what some people even do here in the world today. This is something I don't think anybody has ever really done that I've ever heard of. Any kings throwing parties and the goblets were made of gold and had all different designs and the party lasted for 7 days and they invited everybody in the providences. I don't think I heard anything like this before, but it happened back here in the Bible. And if people would really get together and say, hey, we want to do something extravagant like that for the people today, I think if they would put some little effort into it and understand that they should not be selfish and do things just for themselves, but do things for other people, then we could probably reenact this whole thing that King Xerxes did. It would take some great wealth and some great time, but it could happen. It could probably still happen. All right, so again in verse 7 of Esther chapter 1, the guests drank from gold cups, and each cup had a different design. The king was generous and said to them, this is going to show how generous this king was. The king was generous and said to them, drink all you want. Then he told his servants, keep their cups filled. This was the part right here that while my husband and I were in the car, my husband driving, of course, I'm reading this Bible to myself. He's listening to his music on the radio. All of a sudden, when I saw this verse, I said, whoa. Drink all you want. And he told the servants, make sure their cups are filled. We're talking about thousands of people. Man, the liquor cabinet was filled. Because some of y'all are like, oh, it wasn't liquor. Keep reading. Just stay with us. We're going to find out. This wasn't just fruit juice and wasn't definitely just water. This was a royal party that was being thrown, and the king was making sure that his guests were filled to capacity I mean, this king was taking care of his people. Let's keep on reading. In verse 9, while the men were enjoying themselves, Queen Vashti gave the women a big dinner inside the royal palace. So Queen Vashti decided, okay, while y'all partying, the king's taking care of all of y'all. I'm a lady. I want to invite all the ladies to a little banquet. I want to make the ladies feel special. Kind of like when your pastor, the first lady, decide she want to do something just for the ladies. That's kind of what was going on here. Queen Vashti said, well, I understand the king is doing that, and that's a great thing that the king is doing. And now I think I want to do something for the ladies also. This is getting good. So here we go. So Queen Vashti gave the women a big dinner inside the royal palace. Let's go back up here. All right. So it says here, by the 7th day, King Xerxes was feeling happy because of so much wine. This is where, to me, the Bible just tickles me, because it puts these words, and some people, when they're teaching, especially some preachers, they get kind of boring sometimes, and they would have probably just skimmed right over this sentence right here. But this stuff like here makes me laugh and pause, because it lets me see that the humor and that there were good times happening in these days, and people weren't all just humdrum. They were enjoying themselves. They, you know, like now, if you go to some churches and pastors and women and men and people just want to talk about you, just want to just be all, oh, sit up straight, do things right, don't do that, don't do this, don't do, and you feel like I can't do nothing, I can't enjoy myself. This is why people don't want to come to church sometimes. But I think this is interesting because this verse lets you know that not only were the people having a good time and their drinks were filled and their cups did not run out, but also the king was doing the same thing. The king was having a good time. Hey, he was probably the first one that's created. Hey, he was probably the first one. Because it says, now remember, the king had already partied for 6 months, 180 days. He had already partied for 180 days. And then right after he had that 180-day party, he had this 7-day party. And I think, I may be wrong, but I'm going to just imagine, when you have parties with dignitaries and great leaders, sometimes you're like, you won't be as loose. Sometimes you'll be like, okay, I'm going to party, but I'm going to do the nice, okay, I'm gonna be like nice, you know, I'm gonna make it nice, I'm gonna be cute, because we'd be dignitaries. That's probably how the king was. King Xerxes was probably, for them 6 months, he was probably doing something like this, you know, probably like, you know, like keeping it nice, keeping it, okay. Then when that 7-day, King Xerxes was probably waiting for that 7-day himself. He was probably like, yeah, I'm gonna party with these locals. I'm gonna party with these locals and we're gonna have us a good old time. That's probably what King Xerxes said. It's like, yeah, that 6-month party was good. But here comes the party right here. That's probably why it only lasted 7 days, because he was partying from the streets. And you know the streets, when they party, them 7 days was equivalent to 6 months. So King Xerxes, while he was serving the common folks, the people, the regular people, the ones that know how to party, while he was serving them for 7 days, he was partaking of some of the service himself. King was getting lit. Oh my gosh. This is a part of the Bible to me that is so funny. You ain't gonna find this kind of teaching in your Sunday school, I guarantee you, but you're gonna find it right here, because I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you how it is. It's true. I'm not taking anything away from the Bible. I'm not taking anything away. I'm not adding anything to it. It's all right here. It's the truth. It says here in Esther chapter 1 verse 10, it says here, and I'm reading in the Common English Version, because all those these and thous in the King James is confusing to me. So I read a version I can understand and enjoy. So, in Esther, chapter 1, verse 10, this is where the party began. It says, by the seventh day, King Xerxes was feeling happy because of so much wine. He was like, yeah. You know the song. King was feeling good. Okay. So it says, and he asked his 7 personal servants, now I might say these names wrong, Mehuman, Biztha, Arbona, Bigtha, Abitha, Zethar, and Carcass. I named these kids. Okay, anyway. So he asked his 7 personal servants. He called them in. He said he asked them to bring Queen Vashti to him. Okay, pause. So the king just partied for 6 months, 7 days. He feeling good. Verse said because he had a little wine. He had a lot of wine, so he feeling good. He like, bring the queen to me. All right now. Bring her on over. Like, call Queen Vashti. I'm feeling real good right now. Where you at? Where my boo? So here, he says he asked them to bring Queen Vashti to him. The king wanted her to wear her crown and let his people and his officials see how beautiful she was. All right, king, you done got a little liquor in you, and now all of a sudden, you want to bring the queen around. You want to brag. You want to show off your boo. You want to show. It says in verse 11, it ain't me, it's the Bible. It said the king wanted her to wear her crown and let his people and his officials see how beautiful she was. Put your crown on, queen. Let all these people see what you looking like. That's what the king wanted. Okay, go ahead, king, with that liquor in you. So it says, then the king's servants told Queen Vashti what he had said, but she refused to go with him. All right, Queen Vashti, remember, she was already probably tired from doing the dinner for the ladies, because she did say she did the dinner for the ladies. And you know how women, we do a lot. Sometimes we go overboard with stuff and we tire ourselves out a lot. And Queen Vashti was probably like, I done dealt with all these people for 6 months and helped all these people for these 7 days. I done threw this big old party, and you talking about come here and show off some crown and how beautiful I am? I'm tired. I could just see her right now, especially if she was one of us. Queen Vashti like, I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing it. So it said it's not me, it's the Bible. The king's servants told Queen Vashti what he had said, but she refused to go to him. She said, I'm not going. She probably said, no, I'm not doing it. No. Okay. Guess what? That's what you don't do. When you have the king and he all feeling nice because he done had his little booze and he done partied and had a good time, you don't mess up the king's vibe by saying, no, I ain't going to you because I don't feel like it. That's what you don't do. You don't do that. Because now what happened is you messed with the guy's pride and you done messed up his feeling good with his liquor. I bet you the king sobered up so quick when they told me he ain't going, she ain't going. Okay, let's keep reading. It said, she refused to go to him, and this made him terribly angry. The Bible says terribly angry. Okay. The king called in the 7 highest officials of Persia and Media. They were, here we go with these names again, Kashanah, Shethar, Amitha, I think there's Tarshish, Meres, Marcina, and Memican. If I'm saying I'm wrong, Google me and tell me, or text me and tell me what the right words are. But anyway, these men were very wise and understood all the laws of customs of the country. And the king always asked them what they thought about such matters. So the king, I thought the king was wise in this point, because the king was like, He could have just said, I'm going to do what I want to Vashti because I'm the king and she ain't listened to me. He could have did that. And here's what I want to bring to, and this is what I do also in a lot of my teachings. I bring in today's world into the scenario of what happened in the Bible. So for instance, some people who have leadership positions in church or in jobs, sometimes what they do is they make the mistake of when they get upset with someone or a situation, instead of them calling in some people with some knowledge to help them make a decision before they make a bad decision, instead of them calling in some people, they make the decision on their own. And that ends up being something that could be worse than if you would have just, listen to somebody else. But this is what you have to do. You have to stop allowing your own decision making to get you into a situation that could affect somebody else. So take a lesson out of this verse of Esther chapter 1 verse 13, and before you make a decision out of anger just by yourself, seek some wise counsel. Wise counsel, not just any counsel, because it says here in Esther chapter 1 verse 13 that the king called in the 7 highest officials. He called in the top people, not the mediocres, not the ones that would just kiss up to him. No, he called in the higher ups, the people that were very wise, okay? Because he wanted to get some wise understanding of what to do. The king was smart. The king he didn't get his position, just by chance. The king had learned some things while being king. So he was very smart. So again, in verse 13 of Esther chapter 1, it says, the king called in 7 of his highest officials of Persia Media. They were, tells you the names, and it says these men were very wise and understood all the laws and customs of the country. So they knew all the customs, they knew all the laws. They weren't going to make a decision based on their own feelings. You don't make decisions based on your feelings. You don't do that. What you do instead is you get some wise counsel, and you make sure that they know the laws. Some of y'all have to hear this part. Some of y'all out here, you're mad at somebody, you're mad at friends, you're mad at folk, you're mad at people, and you don't know the laws, and you're about to break a law. And it will probably get you in more trouble than you trying to get them in more trouble. So seek some wise counsel. Get yourself a good lawyer up. And don't just get any lawyer. Get somebody who knows the law. Somebody who's wise, okay? Or if it's not a legal stance that you're going for, and you just have a family situation or a little argument, tit for tat or whatever, then seek out some of the elders that could speak to you and tell you some wise counsel of what you should do. Don't just always take matters into your own hands. Sometimes your hands ain't clean. And they can be very messy. So don't do that. All right, so let's keep on reading. All right, so then it says in verse 14. Let's go back up here. Verse 14. All right. Then it says, come on down. All right, so it says, the king said to them, Queen Vashti, the king said to them, okay, where's my verse? Okay, here, let's finish this up. Okay, so it says, told you the people's names there. Why is my verse not coming up here? All right, so let's go. It says here, then the king said to them, Queen Vashti refused to come to me. Now, that's a problem. The king said to them, Queen Vashti refused to come to me when I sent my servants for her. What should I do about that? So he's asking, what should I do? What should I do about that? Then it says, then Memucan, that's one of the officials, told the king and the officials, Your Majesty Queen Vashti has not only embarrassed you, but she has insulted your officials and everyone else in all the provinces. Oh, Vashti, you're in trouble. Vashti. Vashti is in trouble. So it says, here's the part that was kind of humorous to me, and I'm going to probably end it here, but then come back next week with the rest of it. But you know, like you're watching those movies or sitcoms, reality shows, and they leave off with the interesting part, and you're like, no, you want to wait. You don't want to wait for next week. I'm probably gonna do that today, so you have to go back next week. But anyway, let's go on. In verse 17 of Esther chapter 1, it says, well, let's go back to verse 16. It says, Your Majesty Queen Vashti has not only embarrassed you, but she has insulted your officials and everyone else in all the provinces. You ever have some of the people that go, I mean, I know they wise and everything, but sometimes the stuff they say is just like, really? Okay, let's go on. Verse 17. The women in the kingdom, this is what he's still saying. This is Memucan, one of the people. He probably was having problems with him, one of his wives, and he probably, Lord, if Vashti get out of line, then my wife gonna get out of line, and Lord knows we don't want that. And I'm already having problems with my wife, and man, if we don't get Vashti under control, and then my wife see that Vashti doing it, and she probably gonna do it too. He probably had already known that, so he probably was like, I got to do something about this. But still, they wise. So it says in verse 17 of Esther chapter 1, the women in the kingdom will hear about this, and they will refuse to respect their husbands. He's like, we can't let this out. We can't let Queen Vashti get away with this. He said, we can't. He said, because man, can you imagine if all the women started doing what she's doing now, what we going to have to deal with? That's basically what he's saying. Then it says, if Queen Vashti doesn't obey her husband, they're probably going to say, why should we? Ooh. I'm going to give you verse 18. Before this day is over, he's still talking. Memucan, or whatever his name is, he's probably still talking. He said, before this day is over, the wives of the officials of Persia and Media will find out what Queen Vashti has done. They say before this day is over, all they're going to be out there, all the women going to hear about it. You know how women gossip? That's probably what he was saying. He was probably doing it in a nice way. He's probably, instead of saying, you know how these women gossip, it's going to get out like fire. No, what he said was, before this day is over, this is like official talking. Before this day is over, the wives of the officials of Persia and me will find out what Queen Vashti has done. You know they're going to tell each other. And they will refuse to obey their husbands. They won't respect their husbands, and their husbands will be angry with them. You're like, King, come on now. You got to do something before this get out. He said, because it's not just going to be in your house anger and bitter and y'all going to be, King, we got to fix this, and we got to fix this fast. He's like, hurry up and fix this while it's still in your house. That's probably what he was saying. Remember, Kim was like, hurry up, King, and fix this while it's still in your house before it come to my house. That's probably what he was saying. That's so funny. That is so funny. I'm going to give you two more verses because this is actually too good for me. I'm going to give you two more verses. So let's read on down to verse 19. Let's read in verse 19. It says, Your Majesty, he's still talking to the king. He's still talking to King Xerxes about this Vashti situation. He says, Your Majesty, if you agree, you should write for the Medes and Persians a law that can never be changed. Now he's trying to set this thing up because he want to make sure that the king says that he did it. So when he go home to his wife, when Memucan go back to his wife, he don't have to say, well, I told the king to make y'all be quiet and not do it. He didn't want to do that. He didn't want it to be on him. So that's why he said, Your Majesty, if you agree, basically saying, now, king, we going to say you said this. We ain't going to say I said it because I don't want my wife to be mad at me. I want her to know that it was from you, so that when she start trying to act up because she heard about Queen Vashti, I can say, well, the king made a decree. I didn't have nothing. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. The king did it. You know, that's how some of y'all husbands do. Y'all give somebody a situation and a suggestion, and then they come to your house and you be like, but it wasn't me. It was not me. That's probably what Memucan was going to do. So he says, let's read on in verse 19 of Esther chapter 1. It says, Your Majesty, if you agree, you should write for the Medes and Persians a law that can never be changed. He wanted to make sure that the wives could not find a way to change this, even if they tried. He's like, we finna put this in a declaration. This thing is about to go into law. Y'all women ain't gonna get away with this disobeying us husbands. We finna make this a law, and we gonna make it that y'all can never change it. They still trying to do some of that stuff today. Just saying. Just saying they still trying to do some of that stuff today. So he says, this law would keep Queen Vashti from ever seeing you again. Yeah. Banish. Then, first of all, they say, Queen Vashti, you done got too high for your britches. You got to go. They're like, no. Queen Vashti got to go because Queen Vashti done learn how to tell the king no. And if Vashti get a little too higher up, she might start a revolt and a revolution with all these women. And then guess what? Then we may not be able to handle them and they may overtake us. So let's get rid of Queen Vashti before she get too big and too powerful. That's basically what they said. This law would keep Queen Vashti from ever seeing you again. Just because she said no, she was probably tired. Them men ain't play back then. They're like, no, we ain't dealing with this. No, one no is enough. You don't get a second no. That's basically what they told Queen Vashti. You do not get a second no. Here it goes. Then it says, then you can let someone who respects you be queen in her place. That's basically saying, if she is not going to do what you tell her, let's find somebody else who will. And let's make her queen. Because Vashti is too independent. She's gotten too independent. So we're going to let Vashti go. And we're going to bring in somebody else. Now, I know this is the Bible, and I know it's humorous at times, and I don't want nobody to say, oh, you're taking the Bible out of it. No. These things happen. I understand that. And we all know that God sets up everything throughout this whole life, situations to take place. God is still in control of everything. Even with Vashti's removal. And even with the new queen coming into place. God is in control of all these situations. Maybe it was time for Vashti to go. And maybe on her exit, I'm going to have to look it up, but maybe Queen Vashti did start that revolt. Maybe she did start, women, we need to have voices. Maybe she was one of them. But for this time, she had to go. It's okay. And even in situations, even now, let's bring it on back to today. Even with situations now, some of you women probably had voices you tried to use at your office or at your jobs or at your employment. And maybe something happened and they said, oh no, you've gotten too big. You got to go. They fired you. They told you got to go. Maybe you were on a board, on a committee or something. Oh, you're right, Holy Spirit. Maybe you were in a relationship, a marriage or something. And your husband like, no, you done gotten beside yourself. It's time for you to go. And maybe it was. I'm not condoning divorce. I've been through it myself. But I understand things happen. And sometimes you've outgrown whatever that relationship is. Let's just not even say marriage. Because before you get married, you should know who dude is and who woman is. You should know all of that. But let's say if you were in a dating relationship, this is a great time to learn each other, to learn who this person is, to learn more about the individuals. It's a great time for that. So get some information about who he is, and he get information about who she is, and learn. And then if you feel like you've been in this relationship for so long and you don't feel like it's moving anywhere, or you feel like he's outgrowing you are growing him, or whatever the situation may be, or you feel like one day he said, hey, be quiet, or you out of place, woman, or something like that, and you feel like you're not out of place, but you need to leave that place, then maybe that's time for you to leave. If you date. We'll say that if you date. Okay? And some of you, if you are in a marriage right now and your husbands are telling you that you do not have a voice and don't use that voice, you need to seek some real good counseling, because your voice shouldn't be silenced. It should be understood. All right? Not trying to condone divorce or anything, but simply saying respect one another. So it says here in verse 19, the end, it says, then you could let someone who respects you be queen in her place. Then it says in verse 20 of Esther chapter 1, verse 20, when the women in your great kingdom hear about this new law, they will respect their husbands, no matter if they are rich or poor. They basically said we need to put something in writing real quick. Make sure that we have all the women to know about it. Make sure they respect their husband, whether they rich or poor. Make sure that they don't talk bad to their husband. Make sure they do what their husband say. We need to put this into a decree right now. That's what they were saying. And they wanted to make sure that it went out quick, because they didn't want another time to go by where Vashti was able to tell the king no again, or the word got out in the streets that Vashti did this. They wanted this law written real fast so that they could have this taking place, so that when the women did hear about what Queen Vashti did, they would also then hear immediately that there's a new law in place that you can't talk to your husband the way Queen Vashti talked to Queen Xerxes. Okay, so they put that in there quick. Hey, that's the end of this session today. I will say session, a conversation about the book of Esther. Come back next week. We're going to finish up. We're going to finish up. We're going to go through some more of the book of Esther. I hope it's fun and you're learning something from it. Tell everybody else about this channel. Have them tune in as well so that they can learn some information here and have a good time learning it, okay? The first part of this is make sure you respect each other. And I would like to see if some of y'all going to have them 7-day parties. If you do, invite me. Make sure I get the gold cup. I don't want no red Solo cup. I want a gold cup with a different design from anybody else's. Royalty. Get that gold couch and those linens, those fine linens, purple and nice blues and whites and all that stuff. Marble and all that stuff. I want to come to a royal party too. Hey, love y'all for watching. We'll see you back next week.